Good evening, class. Today's topic is Ironclad versus Liberator. I will be speculating some, but I don't really care. And classic debate between these two. Honestly, though, looking at it, they show pictures of this holding like 5 tanks. And in this fleet viewer, unless this is like wrong scaling, it just looks like it wouldn't hold nearly as much as the Liberator. But for the long and short of it, for total value buying one singular ship for your, own personal use. One personal ship having a lot of flexibility, defense, offense, all around package. Probably would go with the Ironclad. For the best overall ship in general, in multi-role and not having a crew, I would say Liberator. There's a few reasons with this, for the most part. Um, when we look at the Ironclad Assault, I would probably say, comparing to a lot of other Drake ships, a lot of Drake ships don't really have the best fuel consumption. And the fact that it has, 6 engines already kind of makes me think, probably a lot of power, good speed, probably not the best fuel consumption. We know the Anvil ships tend to have good range. A lot of them are exploration focused and things along that line. So I would assume Liberator, maybe slower, probably better fuel capacity, fuel consumption. Firepower and stuff for one singular ship, Ironclad and stuff can win on that. That being said, Ironclad has weak spots, namely that command module on the side and the engines on the back. Whether or not that really matters that much, the main thing is just that that command pod is a big weak spot. Now, when it comes to comparing these for their abilities, you really got to think of it this way, and this is how I think of it. The Ironclad is a combination of ships. It is a generalist ship. It has the ability to store vehicles and cargo. It has some armor capacities, or it's armored. Probably has the ability to carry some troops, things like that. Um, so you're looking at a mixture of like the Liberator, the Crucible, and like I don't know the Carrack or whatever combined into one ship, sort of. Liberator though is more flexible as a platform. You have 2 landing pads on top and internal cargo and internal vehicle storage. So there's a multitude of roles that you can use with this ship, but the biggest point is when people compare ships for dollar value, I can understand picking the Ironclad, but when you're looking for the best overall ship, the Liberator is hands down the better ship, in my opinion. Arguably, it's factual. Especially if they end up making military ships or whatever harder to get in the game, but that doesn't really matter in this example. Online Wiki, they're showing crew sizes of 6 for the Ironclad at the moment, and as far as we've heard, Liberator's crew size is 2. So that means automatically you could get 3 Liberators for the same crew amount as 1 Ironclad. We've seen videos and pictures of the Ironclad holding 5 tanks inside, and having a repair functionality for those tanks. When we put the same package on the Liberator and you multiply it by 3, we know that they've said that you can at least hold 2 tanks in one Liberator, even though it looks pretty big from what I'm looking at. So you're looking at 6 tanks just internally between those three ships, you're looking at 1,200 SCU of cargo in those three ships, I believe. Or is it 1,200 or is it 1,800? It's 400 or 600 SCU per ship. I don't know what the Liberator has, but you can't hold that cargo and the vehicles at the same time. That's just factual. All right, we've seen the pictures. So for the value of crew, the Liberator skyrockets ahead of this ship. Now, repair capabilities. You could easily put one or two Vulcans on top of this Liberator. Not only does that give you repair capabilities, but it's mobile repair capabilities. You are launching ground forces out of this Liberator onto the surface of a planet. Do you want to pick up and move your Ironclad over there and provide ground support with your Ironclad to protect your tanks or whatever ground vehicles you're using, and then try and load them back up into the ship and repair them? It's not practical. It's not the best solution when it comes to like a ground assault. All right. It's good for a mobile fortress. That's the gist of it. It's good for a mobile fortress, laying on the ground, sending some vehicles out, coming back, putting them in the ship, kind of using it as a ground base. Then when we look at armaments potentially on this, the Ironclad has more guns, potentially. But we already know that a Nova tank can fit inside of the Anvil Liberator. And it is said to be able to have a tractor beam on the passenger side. I'm guessing over here. I don't fully know. Maybe it's this thing. But it's said to have a retracted tractor beam that is used for moving ships on and off of this upper pad. If that tractor beam can pick up a ship, then that means it can also pick up a ground vehicle, potentially a ballista or other surface vehicle that could then sit on top of the ship. Now, depending on how big these pads are and how many can fit, I don't really know exactly how many would fit. I would assume that this bottom area here is probably the same size as like the Carrack vehicle hangar bay, um, if not bigger. So, an extra big pad like this, I would assume you could probably at least get two ballistas on there, if not more. Then you have a size 5 turret, and you got a, what, size 2 auto turret, plus whatever you stick on here. Was the Centurion have like quad size 4s or something? So you'd have two quad size 4s, double 5, but you're also, that would also increase your crew amount that you would need. But just saying, one ship, you could potentially put ground vehicles or any other support craft on top of it to modify its firepower or anything else, depending on how many crew that you wanted to put in the ship. You could have AA storms or whatever down here, basically, if you really wanted to. But when you multiply this ship by 3, you at least have 6 size 5 guns and 6 size 2 auto turrets. Now, with this, I believe that the Ironclad has bigger guns in general than the base version, but from what I looked up online, it says 2 size 5s and 6 size 3s. And if that's the case, then the group of Liberators would have more size 5s and just as many size 3s. Missiles, the stuff was kind of messed up online. Got 4x size 5 missile on the assault. I don't really know. But then when we look at the Liberator, it says 12x size 3 missiles. So I don't know exactly what racks. The racks and the missile information was kind of messed up on the wiki when I was looking at it. But that's still 3 Liberators with however many missiles that you want. So if it's 12 size 3 missiles, that's 26 or 36 size 3 missiles potentially. Might not be the most effective thing versus the Ironclad, but that's still a lot of missiles for fighters and things like that, on top of the turret pressure, on top of the extra cargo space that you'll have, on top of the extra vehicle capacity that you could have. Because potentially, even with one Liberator, you could put tank, 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 4 tanks minimum on here, as long as this tractor beam can lift the tank. Multiplying that by 3 Liberators, you're getting 12 tanks, more than double the capacity of this ship in a fight. But I would say bring Vulcans. Now, it's also just more flexible in general when you're looking at a single use purpose ship. If you buy an Ironclad and you need a crew of 6 and you don't have a crew of 6, then you can't really operate an Ironclad, so it's kind of pointless. You have a Liberator, it's a crew of 2. You got you and one NPC or you and one buddy. You're good. All right. You want to put Vulcans and stuff on top of here and be a repair facility because you could park this Liberator somewhere and then go fly your Vulcan with your buddy and go repair ships and make money. You have all your extra cargo capacity and stuff here. The Liberator combines so well with so many other ships. It is in addition to a ship that you already own. You know, it increases the range of your small starter ships. It increases the functionality of any branch of gameplay that you want to do in the game. You can't do that with the Ironclad. It's just not a possibility. You compare this with a Carrack, you're getting additional cargo, additional ground vehicles, additional, um, you know, Pisces, additional anything else. You're flying this with your buddy, and you have Pisces on here. You have multiple Pisces on here. You could have an Apollo on here. You could have, a medical Cutlass on here. Your Vulcan. You could pair this up with a Crucible, and then basically you could have your Crucible parked next to it and have people fly down and land on these landing pads to wait their turn to like get repaired. Extra repair facilities, extra repair vehicles, extra repair, parts. Maybe you could, swap people's parts in and out, store them on here, keep your Crucible ready. There's a lot of things that you could potentially do with this. Even as like a small garage, hand repair, refueling and stuff. You know, pair it up with a Starfarer, go and fly this extra far. You get a Starfarer and this together, you fly however much farther that you can with that extra fuel. So you get that extra fairing capability, a little bit extra protection if you want. There's a lot of things that you can do with the Liberator that you just can't with an Ironclad. But if you want just one ship for a group of people, you know, Ironclad's going to work fine. I believe it also has troop carrying capabilities, which is fine. But we know that the Liberator has 16 jump seats, kitchens, bathrooms, everything else that you need, and their own elevator or whatever for people inside of this as well. So for the same, crew count for the ships, you're getting 3 Liberators, which is almost 50 players that you could be dropping off in these with ground vehicles compared to whatever the Ironclad's doing, right? So when it comes to the best ship, you got to look at the overall flexibility and functionality that you can get out of a ship itself. And when it comes to the most cost-effective ship, potentially for a smaller group of players, you know, just look at the overall capability of the ship and utility that you can get without needing as many players. I mean, this, for the dollar value, you're going to get much more out of it. For the Liberator, it's going to have a much higher top end dollar value wise to dump out more value than the Ironclad, but it is better in general. All right, so that's a quick video over that. Y'all guys have a good one. I'll see you on the next one. All right.